The DW5600 by Casio G-Shock is a fantastic watch that many enthusiasts love to enjoy for many reasons. It's very resilient and it's heavily modified. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Titanium PVD case that I purchased on AliExpress. It normally costs on sale around $48.75. It does go for $56 to $70 for the titanium version on normal pricing, and they also have stainless steel options. This kit is a homage of the GMW-B5000 TVA-1, which had other features within it. It has smartphone link with Bluetooth connectivity, and it usually was costing around $1,800 used at this point and $3,000 new if you could pick one up. The titanium case and bracelet to the kit I found to be of great quality. The bracelet featured a clasp that was milled, 4 points of tooled micro adjustment, and it was a push deployment clasp. The kit also included 2 screwdrivers, one for the removal of the original screws within the case, and then another screwdriver for the new case that you're going to be putting on with new screws that are included. Now, it is important that you utilize the screws that are given for the particular case. You do have to swap them out. You can't use them as extra. But what I did find with this set that they gave us everything that we needed, but also there were extra screws and an extra quick release spring bar also added to the package, which I thought was very nice and very thoughtful for the company to also include in case we did lose some of those screws or misplaced one of those spring bars. So personally, as a modifier, I do appreciate the small details that brands add in when giving us additional parts. Now, I have another video where I first put on this white silicone. Obviously, the stock version comes in a black. I did modify it and put this white silicone rubber on it first. And now we're transitioning as we're going into the winter to this titanium. So if you're interested, you can see a video on that as well. Now, I started off removing some of those screws and realized that removing the actual strap would probably be a better starting point. So if you're going into this, just remove those straps first and then go at it for the side screws on the case itself. Very simple, very straightforward. Again, we're going to be swapping out those screws and using the ones that are provided for the case that is given. I also did the same thing when I put on this white silicone. So the original ones are technically sitting with the original strap and casing that came with it. But all we have to do is peel back this from the module itself. And here is what it looks like when you are starting from that point where you're going to be putting the new modification on. Now, when I take off the old casing, I have the advantage now to do a cleaning. Maybe it's just my modifying mind and my modifying ways, but I always take the opportunity to do a cleaning. It probably would be okay if I didn't do that because I don't have the opportunity to rotate my watches tremendously. But again, with my background, I always like to take the opportunity once the module is exposed. You could even give this a wash if you do heavily use yours. I rotate about 50 watches, so there's not a lot of dirt, not a lot of grime that was underneath that case. It's just a safe practice. You know, this watch is very resilient and you probably won't have issues, but it doesn't hurt to do a nice cleanup before swapping that over. Now, here's something that I noticed. There is a plastic film within the top and bottom tabs of this case. So I did remove that. I don't know, something that's loose underneath it is just going to become loose over time with water or anything of that nature. So I did remove it from the top and bottom before casing the actual module. And this one's very simple. The other rubber is more of a peel back. This kind of just sits on top. You know, obviously it's titanium, so you're not going to be able to clip it underneath or on the back of the case. So you literally just sit it on top, make sure that the buttons are not being interfered with, and then start off with putting in the screws. Now, here's some tidbit of advice. And look, this is a very simple mod, but there are very small things, and there are things that we're going to find within the bracelet that are worth watching this video for. And of course, I'm giving you my overall review. But when you're screwing in anything, for that matter, especially case backs, what I like to do is I like to screw in the very first points halfway. So I'll put the first screw in, I'll screw it in only halfway. I'll do the same for the remaining 3 because there's a total of 4. And then after they've all found their catch to the actual inside of it, at that point, I'll screw them all the way down. And you don't have to torque it completely flush and really super tight. You do want to make sure that they are secured and they're not going to find and wiggle their way out. But I always find that over tightening can be a thing. So just make sure that it does stop when it gets down to the base and then give it a little bit of a torque. Nothing too crazy where you're going to be stripping the top of the screw or stripping anything inside of it, because we want to be able to remove and put new cases on this. That's part of the fun and everything else. So the case is now on there. Everything is secure. I'm just taking a look. This case definitely gives it a very tactical feel alongside with that bracelet. They've included these quick release spring bars, which is very nice because you can put modified ends to the lugs where you can put stuff like NATO straps or any kind of regular straps. I actually, in making this film and recording this, I actually swapped that out already for the band. Nothing negative to say about the band itself. I just was having some fun, and I did buy additional modifications to those lugs. So this makes for a very quick connection to the case itself. Now, as you can see, as I'm placing this band on there, we are getting male end links. So that is something to know. However, the male end links are curved enough for it to not create an issue. If they were straight, then they would be more of an issue. But I'm going to show you what this looks like in my 7¼ inch wrist. It does wrap around enough. The bracelet articulates decently well. Everything is lightweight because it is titanium. And then we are getting text on the actual bracelet itself that makes it look very, very tactical. Now, here is where I found something that is pretty much new to me. This is a spring bar that is actually sitting in between the links of the bracelet. And that was the first time that I've ever experienced something like this, so I didn't realize it at first. So basically what you're doing is you're taking the end point of one of the tools like you would for a normal lug when you're changing out a bracelet, and instead you're pressing that in on one side, and then you're kind of offering some movement backwards to offset it so it doesn't click back in, right? And then you're going to the other end too. So this acts just like how it would at the lugs of a watch, which again, this is something that is new to me. Now, the only thing that I'm kind of fearful of is that lug, that spring bar sitting in between is going to be shallow, and there is space between where that hole is and where that actual spring bar sits. So water finding its way in and possibly rusting that sooner if you are doing a lot of aquatic activities may be a thing. I don't know if that's going to be an issue moving forward. It's just something that's on my mind. But again, reattaching it just how you would at a normal point of a lug to lug to put on a bracelet, but this time at a link, is the way you're going to go about it. You're kind of putting one side in, using the tool at another side, and then just clipping it in for security. Once that's connected, you're ready to go. Of course, I finished sizing this. I sped this up so like that, you know, for time saving. And here is what it looks like. It's very tactical. It feels very nice, and it does wrap around the wrist pretty elegantly. I am happy with the quality of it. It makes it look very tactical. Again, it's being a homage of another one, but again, it does save you a lot of money if you're doing this kit instead. So a very simple setup. It does feel, the PVD coating was done very nice. I personally like this design language. They have other options that are more sterile if you don't like having all those texts. Now, at the clasp, it actually says Bluetooth because it is homaging a watch that is Bluetooth, so that's the only caveat. There are many different modules that you can purchase of the DW series, so if you want to have that kind of matchup, for me, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really bother me, but here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist. Now, again, those male end links are they're not going to articulate, but they do have enough curvature where it does look like it is articulating around your wrist. So it's not going to be an issue, especially if you have a wrist size around my circumference. Let me know what you guys think of this titanium kit. Do you guys do modifications to your G-Shocks out there? What are the modifications that you guys like to do? I appreciate you guys for spending your most valuable asset, which is time, and I hope to see you in the next one.